Hello everyone, it's Rabbi Chaitovsky once again here at BMH-BJ with another video Vaera for this week. This week's Torah portion is Vaera. It's the second Torah portion of the book of Shemot, and we already indicated last week that the book of Shemot is our people's master story. And I said that like a master key that opens up all the doors, many of the secrets of Judaism and many of the bases for the things that we do are found in the book of Shemot, in the story of Shemot, the story of our slavery and our liberation. At this particular point of the story, Moshe, the leader, the appointed leader, has just had his first audience with Pharaoh, and it didn't go so well. And Pharaoh, as we know, decided to make a slight change in the work orders for the Israelites who were working for him, who were slaves to him. And he said that they have to do the same amount of work, but they were not going to be given their straw. They were not going to be given the raw material. They'd have to go and get that on their own, but their quota of bricks would not change. And this, of course, was exactly what Moshe was fearful of. And he's frustrated, and he cries out to God, and he says, "Why have you sent me to only bring further harm to the Jewish people?" And God does not get angry at Moshe, but God tells Moshe that now you're going to see exactly what I'm about to do, what I'm going to do to Pharaoh and the Egyptians. And the Torah portion of Vaera begins with God speaking to Moshe, and I want to just focus on the first couple of verses, actually the first two verses. It's verses 2 and 3. The portion begins with the second verse, and it says, "Vayedaber Elokim el Moshe." God spoke to Moses, and the word for God in this verse is Elokim, which in our understanding of the various names of God is usually a name which refers to God's attribute of justice. Bereshit bara Elokim. God, Elokim, created the world. And God created the world, the Midrash says, with a sense of justice, a sense of right and wrong to be put into practice. And Elokim always signifies God's side or God's attribute of justice. So it's the God of justice speaking to Moses. And he says to him, Ani Hashem. And the Hashem is the four-letter name of God, which we don't pronounce. It's the letters Yud, Hey, followed by a Vav and a Hey. We don't really pronounce that name, but that four-letter name of God is the official name of God, and it usually implies something about mercy. God's attribute of mercy, as we say on Yom Kippur and all holidays, Hashem, Hashem el Rachum b'Chanun. God, O God, the Lord of mercy, slow to anger, long forbearing, abundant in kindness. It's one of the 13 attributes, and that's the four-letter name of God. But God does something unusual with this four-letter name after introducing himself, and he says that I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I appeared to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov with my name, or as Kel Shaddai. That's another name of God. Kel, short form of Elohim, and Shaddai, which we know from the mezuzah. It's one of the names of God. But it says Ushmi Hashem, but by my four-letter name, Lo Nodati Lehem. I was not known to them. They didn't know me by that name. Little odd, because if you look back in Bereshit, in the book of Bereshit, you will find that four-letter name of God is used. And even the patriarchs sometimes use that four-letter name of God. So it's not quite accurate to say that they did not know me by that name, because they did. So what does this mean? So from the standpoint of the story, the contrast between Kel Shaddai and the four-letter name of God might be summarized as follows, and this is all based on commentaries of the Ramban and the Chizkuni. One says that the Kel Shaddai means the God of limitations, from the word dai, enough, stop. Kel Shaddai, this commentary says, in the book of Breshit, look at all the miracles in the book of Breshit. Look at everything that happened to the patriarchs in the book of Breshit. We would call them natural miracles. The fact that Abraham was, survived, the fact that Sarah survived the incarceration by the king of Egypt when they sojourned there, all the things that happened, Joseph's survival, all the fortuitous things that happened, these are, we call them natural miracles. Kel Shaddai. These are limited by the laws of the natural world. But now God says, I am going to be manifesting my personality as the four-letter name of God, which we say is a contraction of three Hebrew words: Haya, Hoveh, V'yihiyeh. I was, I am, and I will be. I am the God of the past, the present, and the future. I am not bound by the time that we're looking at now. I was there, I am now, and I am forever. God says, I made promises back then. I am now going to start fulfilling the promises that I made. Or, in contrast to El Shaddai, he says, I'm not going to be limited by the laws of nature. I'm going to become the supernatural God. And I dare say that's the God that we all take for granted. We always think of God as a supernatural being. So that idea is now going to be manifest here in this Torah portion, and Moses is going to be the partner to get that message out to the Jewish people. And this is the Torah portion where things begin to change for the Jewish people. We're going to be introduced to the plagues, and we're going to be introduced to Pharaoh vacillating back and forth, and we're going to be introduced to his stubbornness. And we scratch our heads and we wonder, why is Pharaoh so intransigent and so stubborn? These are the questions that engage us as adults. They engage our children at the Passover Seder, because this is the story of the Seder. And they've engaged all of us as a people, because these are the formative parshiot, the formative chapters of our national history, and we're in the thick of it in this week in Vaera. Shabbat Shalom.